Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is my colleague, Forbes wealth reporter, Gigi Zamora. Gigi, thanks for coming in studio today.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to talk to you today. The list of Forbes' richest self-made women just dropped, and I want you to talk a little bit about it for us. First, can you talk about how the list is compiled and how you determine if someone is self-made?
So we take the net worths of the 100 richest women in America and compile them into a list, and we give them a self-made score, and this score is based on how self-made their fortune is, so how much help they got or they didn't get when building their business. And
So you focus specifically on the youngest women on this list, which are 40 and below. So let's break down a little bit here. What are the industries represented?
So there's a lot of cosmetics, there's a lot in the tech industry, there are entrepreneurs, and there are even pop stars in the under 40s.
So when you say cosmetics, one of the first names that comes to my mind is Kylie Jenner, who's the youngest in the Kardashian-Jenner crew. She is the youngest for the 6th year in a row. Tell us a little bit about how she amassed that wealth and has kept it really going for the past over half a decade.
Yeah, so at 25, she's the youngest out of the entire list, and this is her 6th year. And you may have heard of her. She got her start in Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and with her fame from the reality TV show and the followers that she got from Instagram, she decided to launch her makeup brand, Kylie Cosmetics, in 2015, I think. And what she did, she used about $250,000 from her modeling days and what she gotten from the show, and she launched her infamous lip kits online, and she marketed them via social media, and it was an instant success. They sold out, and she has continued to grow her brand, expanding into skincare and doing multiple collaborations. And in 2020, she sold a 51% stake to publicly traded Coty for, I think it was 600 million. So that's where she got the bulk of her wealth. But she has continued doing brand endorsement and product collaborations on Instagram as well. So that's basically how she got to be the youngest self-made woman.
And that line keeps growing and expanding. I mean, just recently she did that skin glow. So it really went from lip kit to now full gamut cosmetics. Another person who went full cosmetics is Rihanna, who's actually the richest on this list. And in recent years, we saw her really pivot from music more so to her beauty line, Fenty Beauty. Tell us a little bit about her journey.
Yeah, so she's the richest right now at 1.4 billion. She's the only billionaire in the under 40s club. And she started her career in music, but expanded as an entrepreneur. And most of her wealth comes from her makeup brand, Fenty Cosmetics, which she co-owns with LVMH's Bernard Arnault, which is the richest man in the world right now. And it has done incredibly well. I think sales for 2022 doubled. So it's growing, it's expanding. She also owns a lingerie brand. And right now, this year, she made her comeback. She had not released new music or had not given live performances. And she just released 2 new songs in the Black Panther soundtrack. And she also did her first live performance in the Super Bowl, which attracted, I think it was over 121 million viewers. So she's done pretty well for herself. And right now she's Barbados' only billionaire.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, the Super Bowl performance doubled as a pregnancy announcement. It was one for the books for sure. Another pop star who is having a blockbuster year, who also is one of the youngest on the list, is Taylor Swift. As we know, she's just crushing it with her Eras Stadium tour right now. Tell us a little bit about her journey this year and how she's gained over $170 million.
Yeah, so right now she's at 3rd place in the ranking of the under 40s. She's 33 along with Whitney Wolfe, which is Bumble's co-founder. But Taylor is doing incredibly well this year. So mainly the uptick in her net worth is coming from the release of her 10th studio album, Midnights, which dropped in October, as well as the announcement of her Eras tour, which has done incredibly well. She when the ticket sales started, they sold over 2 million plus tickets in a day, which was record breaking and even caused lawmakers to question Live Entertainment, which is Ticketmaster's parent company. So her success has even sent ripples all over the United States. And out of her 52 performances, she's getting a cut out of that. And she's also getting a cut out of the merch. So her net worth keeps on increasing.
You mentioned that Bumble's founder, Whitney Wolfe Herd, is tied with her, but we saw a dip in her fortune this year, an over $200 million dip. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so this is the second big dip in her fortune that has happened to her. She was at one point the youngest self-made billionaire, but that only lasted a short 10 months. Bumble's IPO was very successful, but the share price has continued to drop. And I think from last year it's dropped, I think it's like 30%. And from its IPO, I think it's about 80. So it's pretty significant. And she just keeps shedding off that wealth continuously.
Some of the names we've talked about so far, Rihanna, Kylie Jenner, Taylor Swift, are mostly household names. But I'm curious if there are any newcomers on this list.
Yeah, so we have 3 newcomers, and they're all in their 30s. There's Christina Cacioppo, Iman Abuzeid, and Julia Cheek, and they're all entrepreneurs. They all founded their own companies. Cacioppo founded a security and automation company, and it was valued by private investors at $1.6 billion. Abuzeid, on the other hand, founded a healthcare staffing company, which is kind of like a LinkedIn for nurses. It basically connects nurses with openings in hospitals or in the healthcare industry. And the company was also valued at 1.6 after its last funding round last year. And then there's Julia Cheek, who's 39, and she founded this company called Everly Health, which makes at-home wellness and health testing kits. And right now, they're sold online. They're sold at CVS, Target, and I think it's 250 million in revenue for last year.
That's great. So I think the opposite of newcomers would be drop-offs. And we saw a few this year on this list. I want you to speak to them. And I guess I'm specifically wondering, did they drop off because their fortunes declined? Or did the competition just get more fierce this year?
Yeah, so we have a little bit of everything with the drop-offs. We have one drop-off who didn't drop off the self-made women's list, but no longer makes the under 40 club because she turned 40, and that's Emma Grede, who co-founded Good American with Khloe Kardashian. She's still on the list at 320 million, but no longer in this ranking. But we do have some that have fallen off entirely, and that's tennis player Maria Sharapova, who didn't make the 225 million cut, as well as Rachel Drury. She co-founded, Daily Harvest, which is a meal delivery service, and it was doing extremely well. It was valued at 1.1 billion last year, but they had this huge, massive recall of their lentil and leeks product, and it really bruised sales and caused her to drop off the list entirely.
When you're compiling this list, just the title, The Richest Self-Made Women, I'm sure you came across many inspiring stories, especially when you were covering the youngest, under 40. Can you share one with us?
Yeah, I think it's really exciting to see how these women have all built their companies from scratch or almost from scratch. But I think one that really stood out to me is Rihanna. She has a self-made score of 10. So she really did build her entire empire on her own. And she is the only billionaire in the under 40 with the highest self-made score. So I think that really speaks volumes of what she's done.
When you're looking at this list, and specifically the youngest, so everyone 40 and below, if you could describe this part of the list in one word, what would that word be?
I think I would describe them as driven, because it's so hard to amass such a big fortune, and they've all done it, and they consistently land themselves on the list. So I think it's definitely impressive and worth mentioning.
Gigi Zamora, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.